Good afternoon, Facebook friends and family. My name is Amber Smithson. I am here with Bakersfield Behavioral Healthcare Hospital, and I am joined today with Leah Lopeteguy-Hoffman, who is a licensed family and marriage therapist. And Leah, thank you so much for being a part of this today.
Hi, Amber. Thank you so much. I really appreciate being invited.
Absolutely. So, as we all know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we just thought it was really important that we try to reach out to some of our partners in the community that are centered around mental health. And so we wanted to make sure we reached out to you so that we could have a conversation and talk about mental health and what that looks like, especially during these times of COVID-19. How are things changing? How are you having to adapt? All of that. So, first let's just kind of start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your practice and what you do.
Sure. So I'm actually double licensed. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a licensed professional clinical counselor. I work with, practice with a myriad of different populations from ages 6 all the way to ages 90. I currently am focusing and certifying. I'm a trained therapist, so I work with trauma. And, I really hope to focus on supporting people and developing ideas and using the strength I have to meet some of the needs that they have. And it's a great passion of mine to be involved in this.
How long have you been licensed here in Bakersfield?
I've been licensed for 3 years, but I've been in, we have to go through the training and supervised. And so I completed my master's about 7 years ago, almost 8 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What made you choose this field?
I have always been, I love people. It's a thing. And I'm a huge supporter for people. And it took me, I'm a little bit of a late bloomer. I'm a non-traditional student. I feel my kids joke that I've been in school forever. My family jokes that I've been in school. And so what better way than to continue on with my education and be able to support people. And, in the restaurant I worked before this, it was just all customer service. And that's something that's super passionate. So why not create a career out of it?
Absolutely. I think there's more and more untraditional students out there. Within the last decade, I would say that it's really, the numbers have grown. I was definitely one of those as well. And, and it's interesting. It gives you a different perspective on your education, on the classes you're taking, on the people you're taking your classes with, on your professors. It's definitely a different perspective. And I think it adds something, to once you get that degree, and then afterwards you're like, okay,
Yes, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. That's pretty much how, yes, I'm so thankful that so many people are recognizing, yeah, you know what? This, and then doing it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely. I think it's never too late in your life to start doing what you're passionate about, you know,
Absolutely.
and whatever road that takes you down, then great. Let's just do it. And, I'm definitely passionate about mental health and addiction as well. And, it's something that I did a little bit later on in my life as well. And I just absolutely, if you're passionate about it, I think it's great. And it makes for great experiences for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about how things have changed and how you've kind of transitioned during this time of COVID-19.
It was, I'm not going to lie, we kind of, briefly chatted about this at the beginning, and yeah, it was a big shift. It making sure, for the practice industry and the business aspect, making sure that all of those policies were in place, making sure that, before I walked into it. Luckily, the practice management that I use already had a built-in platform for telehealth. So I was very fortunate. And a couple of months ago, actually, I think it was about October, there had been some trainings that were coming out, and I just happened to take the telehealth training just so that I have, just for no real reason. I hadn't really planned on going into telehealth ever, but I figured, oh, well, let's figure it out and find out some. And I'm really thankful that I did, and that the process of transitioning, it was a little bit, kind of, okay, let's push. And once we got it up and running, it's been phenomenal. It's a completely different experience. I'm such a face-to-face person. I know we met in person before. It's so nice. I'm such a face-to-face talker. And so it's a very different shift for me. I know it was a very different shift for a lot of my clients, but, they're champs. Everybody just kind of rolled through it. I'm super proud of my people, and anybody, that's really working forward and moving this transition into the forefront so people can get their needs met and still work on their goals and still process through the things that are going on, especially right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that kind of leads into my question. How are your clients receiving this? Are they being a little bit
Yeah.
more open to it? Were they resistant at
Yeah.
first, I'm sure?
I feel like, yeah, it was, because it was so hard and fast, I think, for so many people. It was like, okay, overnight, like, here's the transition. I think, with the research that I had done, I really wanted to be informed about the decisions I was making, to move my, practice to online for the time being. And so, just being able to make the right decisions and be able to support, some of my more medically fragile clients was really important to me as well. And so, um, has been unique. I'll say that. Because just, when we started from the gate and the assurance, it's so nice to be able to work with willingness. We're just open to, okay, we know that this is important to us, and we'll work through the process. I think for me, really having a plan and setting people up for success, like, it's disjointed, I will call you. I will call you as many times as it takes to get a hold of you. There have been various times where, the video cuts out or my voice cuts out, or, the funny things we see on TV where my voice and my face are different. And so working through that process, it's a totally different type of building a relationship and a whole new level, actually. And I've been, so excited to see the progress that so many people are continuing to make. But yeah, it was hard for some people because not everybody's familiar with this. I'm not familiar with, this, and making sure that maybe I can be a little step ahead and figure out some of the troubleshooting. If it freezes up, I'll call you. We'll get on, I'll put you on speakerphone, and, you mute me on here, and just kind of, playing it by ear. Really winging it, actually. It's been helpful. It's, even with some of the clients that may have been a little bit more resistant, because of, various different kinds of things that can come up later after even just talking on the phone. I think I grew up in the era of where we just always talked on the phone all the time. And so I got used to it, and I had forgotten how, really important it is, to talk to people. But even if I can just get you on the phone, that's still really helpful, and that's worked out well. And even to be able to transition some of them from the phone to platforms, such as the telehealth sites, it's been phenomenal.
So have you noticed maybe where individuals are starting to struggle more and more because of the isolation? Obviously we are all changing our normal routines, or what we will call normal routines, right? Where our students or our children have typically been in school and now they're home, or maybe one or both parties are now furloughed or working from home. And so you're under these close quarters now where maybe you've been able to have this break, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's I love you guys. Now I'm going to work, you're going to
Mm-hmm.
school, right? We've all kind of had our break, but now we don't get that because we're all in the same house 24/7. Are you noticing more frustration or anxiety around that? And how are you helping with that?
Yeah, I think that that's a normal, function. Maybe at first, I feel like there was a good couple of weeks. It was big, it was a lot of transition. It was a very big adjustment for so many of us. And, going through that in my own process, and, working from my home office, and, making sure that, my children are aware, and that my are aware, that, for the most part, I keep a sign on my door when I'm in session. I've got my little noise canceller outside of my door. So I've pulled some of the stuff that was in my office into my home. But yes, for those that are going through the same adjustment, I noticed that right about week 3 was where, frustration for maybe many of us was kind of like, I call it 10 out of 10 freaking out. And so, I'm trying to work through the process of decreasing that distress and the disturbance. I feel like, yeah, some of that has increased. Some of it's leveled out, and I think maybe different, we're riding a wave. We're learning to surf right now, and learning what the ocean is all about. And, really being able to support in that, sometimes we've got kids coming in and it's become, for these weeks, it's become maybe more of a normal, comfortable process. A lot of my clients have babies. They've got their little kids at home. They've got animals running around. And, when I'm in my home office, my cat kind of jump on my chair, which in a way is sometimes distracting, but also kind of comforting because it's normalizing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going through this process with you. We're together.
Right.
Being able to support, okay, what can we do? How can we create some boundaries? How can we set up the rules differently in the house? What works for you? How can you kind of unplug and decompress for a minute? Where can you fit in some self-care? Self-compassion is huge right now,
Mm-hmm.
for all of us. And it's almost kind of that maybe I hadn't been doing that so much for myself, even for me personally. And so being able to share some of what I'm going through too, you never share anything that's not helpful to somebody else. And what I'm recognizing is, there are some elements of my process that's really normal to some people, and vis-a-vis when they're sharing, their process and how they're creating their structure and their day-to-day and engaging in their life and their family members without having the 10 out of 10 just through the roof distress. It's very empowering.
Well, and that you kind of touched on some of the things that I was going to ask you next. And that's, what's your advice to individuals right now that maybe their stress level is 10 out of 10 and they're not really sure what are some baby steps that we can take to kind of make sure that we are taking care of our own mental health and that we are setting good boundaries for ourselves?
Absolutely. And that's a really great question. There's so many different things in these very interesting times. One of the most important things I can think of is just really creating structure. We had a structure before, we had a way we did things. We got up early in the morning or we got up at whatever time, keeping with that same schedule. We know that that's really helpful for our little babies as we're growing them. And so keeping with that same structure and really trying to do your best to, set your alarm to get up at that certain time, building in certain things, because we are isolated. But it is really amazing, the technology that's out there. We've got Zoom meetings. My dad, when he figured out what is it, Google Duo, it was like a kid in a candy store. And because you can still reach out, and putting that on your calendar, even if it's you reach out and call somebody once a day.
Mm-hmm.
Those are really important structures. Limiting some type of news.
Mm-hmm.
That's also really.
Okay, so everything froze for a minute, so we're going to give it just a second. That technology that Leah was talking about. So talking about those technical difficulties, we lost you
Right,
for a second,
right.
Leah. So you were talking about keeping a routine and how that's important for individuals right now.
Yes, keeping a routine and going with the routine that you had before. Whether it's with the same time every day, making sure that you go to sleep at the same time every day, really building in those simple structures and holding to that. There's another layer of, because of everything going on, it's good to want to know, it's normal to want to know what's going on in the world. But sometimes that can be really flooding in the middle of the day, maybe not before bed, maybe not first morning, but 2 or 3 o'clock. Okay, let's do a review. creating a separate, social media account that's just for news. And, you can engage when you need to, maybe turn the alerts off on that. Creating boundaries, having sit down meetings where it's okay, normalizing for the rest of, your family members. Creating, a schedule of, okay, this is the people that I want to keep in touch with, and I'm going to call them once a day. And, there's a lot of evidence that suggests if you even just put it on a calendar, whether it's your phone calendar and that's a reminder, we're more likely to do it if we, have a visual representation of what it's going to look like. And so, just engaging with those support pairs, those people that you love and that you want to stay connected to, whether it's seeing or video chat or just a simple phone call, even if it's for 5 minutes. Self-compassion, again, practicing self-compassion. I feel like that's the new meditation. That's one thing that we can do for ourselves. I know meditation looks different for everybody. And it can be something as simple as, going outside and getting some sun. It's in your backyard. Um, a little bit of sun for about 15, 20 minutes a day. Even if it's a walk around the neighborhood in a place that you feel safe and comfortable. A little bit, way to kind of disconnect from just the monotony of being inside, that cabin fever that can kind of build up. Some of those things are pretty important right now for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that I've seen my friends do this a lot where they still have, their family dinners. They used to have big family dinners, right? And all the extended family would come together once a week and they would have big family dinners. And now I'm seeing where they're doing it through Zoom. And so everybody's having dinner at their prospective homes, but they've got Zoom going on, and they're all talking and laughing and having a good time, trying to keep some of that normalcy going and some of those routines going, right? And I thought that's great.
Absolutely.
I love the fact that you guys are doing that. I completely support that. Way to go. And then they're sharing that on social media. So where a lot of
Yeah.
times we see a lot of negativity on social media, um, they're posting those suggestions. And I'm like, that is great. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm all for trying to share the positivity, to kind of
Absolutely.
combat a little bit of the negativity that's going on right now. And so I always encourage all my friends, please, share that type of information. It's great. It does the heart good. We need those feel good moments to kind of keep us pushing through. It's great.
Absolutely. I'm 1,000% for that. And the creativity. When you see somebody else being so creative and, ingenuity is like the key word right now. And it strikes something in you and developing those different things for your family. Absolutely. That's a really amazing point. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that somebody on my team, he makes little signs for his neighbors, and so he'll go put signs in his neighbors' yards, just so that they know that he's thinking of them, right? But it's these little gestures that I think that we're all starting to realize, oh, they really matter. These little gestures really matter. They can really help somebody. They can brighten somebody's day. They can bring about some positivity where maybe, they're struggling that day. And I think it's so important for us to A, be doing it, and B, sharing it with others, like we talked about, and giving them those suggestions and those ideas as well. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and sometimes, like, again, riding the wave, right? As we're learning to surf, getting our balance, adjusting to the new norm, and then multiple adjustments to the new norm. I think that's absolutely, it is those little things, and, recognizing those things and engaging in a different way. And it's so meaningful and it's so needed by so many people. And yeah, absolutely.
So I'm gonna kind of end this with a question that I've been asking a lot of people. I started asking everybody here at the hospital and everybody that I can get a hold of. But with May being Mental Health Awareness Month, we understand that there is such a huge stigma surrounding mental health. And so I've just been kind of asking people, if there was no more stigma surrounding mental health, it was just gone. Tomorrow we woke up and there was no more stigma. What do you think that would look like for us as a community? What would that look like for you, your friends, your loved ones, those that you help?
That's like the ultimate miracle question.
Right.
Um, I It's okay. So what do I think it would look like if I woke up tomorrow?
Mhm.
I thought that would be like probably my perfect world. Those that know me, those of my clients that are familiar with this, I always talk about my perfect world, and it's always right over here.
Mhm.
And not a place that I always live in. And I probably get to dip in there for a couple of seconds at a time, every once in a every 5 years, maybe.
Mhm.
Um, but in my perfect world, yeah, I think that, stigma is the mental health stigma is real and it still exists. And I think, yeah, I understand that a lot are rooted in fear, and fear happens when, we don't necessarily have a scaffolding for what it is. What is that? And that can create a lot of fear, hence stigma. And if I woke up tomorrow and there was no mental health stigma, I think I think honestly we would live in maybe much more of a balanced and peaceful existence with each other. Awareness is key, and recognizing that we all go through so many different processes throughout our life, and to be able to recognize that in somebody else, to recognize that in our own self, to accept that some functions of what goes on is just normal, and that there are connections out there, there are resources, there's help out there, and for that to be really well known, and for all of our friends and loved ones to know that, I mean, that would be like my perfect world. I would love to live in that on a daily.
Yeah, I think that we all would. I think about the fact that, only half of those individuals that are struggling with their mental health will actually seek help. And so when I think about there not being any more stigma surrounding mental health, I think about all the more people that would be willing to get and seek help, and how much more healthier lives that could be lived because
Yeah,
they were seeking that help. So
absolutely.
I would love for stigma to be gone. I would love to wake up tomorrow and there be no more stigma surrounding mental health. But I think that together as a community, with individuals such
Mhm.
as yourself, that we can just keep chipping away at it, right? And we can start just bringing about education and awareness, and hopefully one day that
Yes.
happens. You know?
Yes. Well, and I think that, what you guys are doing is so beautiful and wonderful. And you've always, I mean, it's always been wonderful and amazing. And your support of the community and ingenuity. And honestly, just even being able to use your platform, like getting the good word out. And you never know who's going to come across this really good, helpful information. That's my goal, to make this information readily available, even if it's the littlest thing. It's not, whatever the support is, sometimes life leads you to the place you never knew you needed to be. And so being able to access your site and just run through the videos, and holy moly, maybe there's something perfect in there for me. I'm just, yeah, absolutely grateful to what you're doing, for what you're doing, you and your staff and your team. It's wonderful. So
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Well, and Leah, I appreciate you being with us today. Thank you for maneuvering through all the obstacles with me so we can get this done.
Absolutely. Teamwork makes the dream work. Yes.
That's right. That's right. Only together can we make things happen, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I want to again thank you so much. And that is Leah Lopeteguy-Hoffman. And I just really appreciate you being here with us today and hope to do this again soon with you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Amber. I
Thanks.
appreciate it.